What's September 5th, 2025. Had a cool morning here, 40 degrees. That's definitely a lot cooler than we're used to for this time of the year. So we're thinking maybe not doing any shooting today, but we've got a little project here that we're going to work on. This particular gun has an issue, and I did a video and I kind of showed where that was. So let's take a look at what that issue is. When we bring the hammer back slow, kind of like this, we're finding out that the cylinder does not completely lock up into the firing position. In other words, that bolt that's down there in the bottom, called a bolt, does not fit into the groove here. The cylinder needs to rotate just a little more. You can show that here, like that, before the bullet will lock into the notches here. And that happens when you draw the hammer back slow. Do one more time here. But if I bring the hammer back quickly, the rotational momentum that the cylinder has will make it go far enough so that it'll actually lock up. So trying to move it here, no, it's locked up perfectly fine. The issue might be that if you bring this hammer back slow like this, and it's not quite in the firing position as it fires, it may or may not be lined up, the chambers may not be lined up with the bore. Well, there's a forcing cone in there that'll kind of take care of that, but it's just not the way that the gun is. There, I need to click a little more. Not the way the gun is supposed to function. So we're going to take this apart, have a look, see what might be causing that issue. As we draw this hammer back, that cylinder then is not rotating far enough, and the thing that rotates the cylinder here is called a hand, and that fits into a small hole here. It's got a peg on it on the hammer, and as we draw the hammer back, that hand moves up. I can't really show how that works, but it moves up like that into some notches on the back of the cylinder here, and it'll turn the cylinder. If that hand happened to be a little too short, then as the hammer comes back into the full cock position, it hasn't been able to turn the cylinder quite far enough, and we suspect that's what is going on here. In fact, we got a comment from one of our videos when I mentioned that this gun had the problem from Doris in this case, and she had the same issue going on with one of her guns, and she fixed it by hammering that, and that's what we're going to try to do here on this gun. I was thinking before I start whacking away on this thing, I think maybe I'm going to try to get a measurement of the length, if we can here. Where this back and forth, I can get maybe the maximum length. I'm getting 1.0, 1 inch and 40 thousandths. I've got to be cautious here not to be messing with that spring. Just as soon not have to replace that if we can help it. So I'm going to be working on this section right in here. At least that's the plan. Alright, let's see if that made any difference. I kind of doubt it, but we will check. 41, might have gained a thousandth on there. Not a lot though. Alright, measuring time again. Well, I'm not getting any change here. In fact, it looks like it shrunk. Let's go back here again. No, I'm still seeing 40 thousandths for the length. Now I'm getting more aggressive now, and 44, 45. Alright, we may have picked up a few thou. So it's time for the moment of truth here. See if that method worked, and that 5 thousandths that we gained here in length is able to do the job on the rotation of the cylinder. I believe it's locked in. Yeah, I'm not feeling any rotation ability here, so she's good. Alright, it worked. Try it one more time here. Locked up just like it should be. There's something we should mention here about lengthening that hand. And if you notice here, when the hammer is cocked back on this gun, there's a kind of a moment right in here where the cylinder tends to hang up. Well, the hand is trying to push the cylinder around, but the bolt isn't quite released yet. So I'll try to explain what I think is going on now with the gun. I've got several of the bolts laid out here. Top one is a new bolt, and the way the orientation here of them is, the leg that's up here is one that's actually, these are flipped around, is actually riding on this cam of the hammer here, or close to it. Now the original one, not the original, but the new one here comes, there's a section in here, we can show that, that's fairly wide compared to one that's been in a gun, like this one or the other ones down below. And the purpose of that is so when the bolt is being fitted, this section can be ground out. Now this is a section that rides right close to the bolt, so like in the condition of a new one here, the bolt, or the hammer wouldn't have to move very far at all, and the bolt starts to drop out of the cylinder here. But once this gets ground out somewhat, then the hammer has to move further back in order to get that bolt to move out. So I suspect on the gun that I've been working on here that it's ground out quite a bit, so that it's hammer's having to move quite a bit back, and when it's moving back, it's also trying to starting to rotate the cylinder. So if the bolt isn't dropping out fast enough, then we're going to have the situation where we try to bring the hammer back, but all of a sudden it locks up because the bolt is still in position, and the hand on the hammer here is trying to swing that bolt around, or that cylinder around, so that's where the thing will lock up. Now the issue is if you grind too much out of this thing, like I said, then it's going to have to move too far and you get that lockup. But if you don't grind anything out of that, then you have a problem on the reverse end where the hammer is falling. And sometimes then the hammer will not actually, can't fall far enough because it's hitting the cylinder here, and the bolt doesn't get a chance to drop off of this ramp that it's on here. And if it doesn't do that, then you can't bring the hammer back because the cylinder is locked, and it's counting on the fact that the arm here, the bolt, is dropped off from that, so it's dropped off of this cam, and then when the hammer is being brought back, it can force this bolt to go down. So I think that's the issue here with this gun, is that this is a little bit too thin, and the remedy someone decided was to shorten up the hand on the gun, because in order to solve the other problem, you'd have to build onto this section right in here, or else purchase a new bolt and get that fitted. Lower ones down here have the arms or the hand or one of the sides broken off. These two down below here have had different sides broken off than this one, so just wanted to point this out because this is a pretty common problem that we have on these single actions, is that one arm or the other of the bolt will get broken off. So anyway, maybe that'll kind of explain the situation that I think was happening with this gun. So I've mentioned before, make sure your guns are unloaded if you're trying this, but as that hammer is lowered, I'm going to get 2 clicks. First one, second one. Now when that first click happens, right there, if I try to move that hammer back and try to rotate the cylinder, it's just not going to go. Okay, reason for that is because at that point that arm, being too fat in this case, has not been able to, and they actually go this way, going down because it's kind of upside down, being too thick, it has not been able to drop off of that cam yet, like that. It needs to be in that position so when you bring the hammer back, that bolt will start to drop. So that's the click that we're looking for, and it's not this one. It's the second click. There. Once that's done, I can bring this hammer back and the cylinder starts to rotate. Might wonder what that first click is doing. That one right there. And that click would be the noise of the hand as it's dropping off one of these ledges here on the cylinder, getting ready to be able to push it back to the next position. And we can kind of prove that because if we cock this thing back and go as far but not to that first click and then try to rotate the cylinder, it's not able to because it hasn't dropped over that ledge yet on the grooves here on the cylinder. So that's what our first click is doing. And that second click is the one we want in order to get the thing in position where the cam, as it's moving, can lower that bolt.